and I declared that the dead, who had already died, are happier than the living, who are still alive. But better than both is the one who has never been born, who has not seen the evil that is done under the sun. Ecclesiastes 4:2-3. The 10-question yes or no quiz that will crush every parent's heart. Most of us genuinely believe we have our child's best interests at heart. We like to think that if we could prevent our child from suffering without any cost, we absolutely would, right? But what if we're wrong? Are you completely sure that your child's well-being is your highest priority? Would you care to take a short self-knowledge quiz on that claim? The following is a 10-question yes or no quiz. There are no trick questions. Just answer them with honest reflection and consistency. Grab something to keep score if you like. Take your time, take a breath, and let's begin. Question 1. Do you agree that a parent's primary moral duty is to protect their child's well-being? Yes or no? If you chose yes, that's the correct answer. Almost everyone agrees with this, because without prioritizing a child's well-being, the very idea of parenting loses its meaning. If you chose no, however, the quiz stops here, because rejecting this means rejecting the moral foundation of parenthood itself. Question 2. Protecting well-being means preventing harm whenever possible, not merely responding to it after it happens, correct? Yes or no? If you answered yes, well done. We already live by this principle every day, especially when it comes to children. If you answered no, the quiz stops here, because choosing not to prevent avoidable harm contradicts what we normally mean by care and responsibility. Question 3. That's why preventing illness or injury is better than treating it after it occurs, right? Yes or no? If you said yes, correct again. Prevention is morally and practically superior. That's why we vaccinate, child-proof homes, and buckle seatbelts. If you said no, the quiz stops here. Preferring damage plus repair over avoiding damage entirely is not a position most people truly hold. Question 4. If someone never exists, they cannot be harmed, suffer, or be deprived in any way. Is that true? Yes or no? If you chose yes, that's correct. No subject means no suffering. If you chose no, the quiz stops here, because harm requires someone to experience it. Question 5. Once someone exists, they are guaranteed to experience at least some pain, loss, and ultimately death. There's no way around that, right? Yes or no? If you chose yes, correct. This isn't pessimism, it's biology. If you chose no, the quiz ends here, because denying this is denying a basic fact of life. Question 6. So, bringing someone into existence necessarily exposes them to harms they otherwise would never face, correct? Yes or no? If you answered yes, you're reasoning consistently. If you answered no, the quiz stops here, because this contradicts the previous answers. Question 7. Once someone exists, there is no way to fully undo that exposure to harm, no matter how loving or careful you are, right? Yes or no? If you said yes, correct. Love can reduce harm, but it cannot erase it. If you said no, this assumes a level of control no parent actually has. Hence, the quiz stops here. Question 8. Which means the decision to create a child is the only point at which total harm prevention was possible. Fair to say? Yes or no? If you chose yes, that's correct. This is a crucial step. If you chose no, the quiz stops here, because existence is irreversible. Question 9. Parents often say they would do anything for their child's well-being. Would that include refraining from an action that guarantees their child harm? Yes or no? If you answered yes, that's consistent with everything so far. You've made it to the final step. If you answered no, the quiz ends here, because this admits that desire outweighs the child's welfare. Question 10. Given everything we've agreed on so far, how can choosing to create a child be morally consistent with prioritizing that child's well-being above all else? What this quiz has been quietly building toward is a difficult conclusion. Not a shocking one, but an unsettlingly simple one. Throughout the quiz, we followed a principle most parents already accept, that protecting a child means preventing harm whenever possible. We also acknowledge something equally unavoidable, that existence itself is what makes harm possible. Pain, loss, illness, fear, and death all begin there. When these two ideas are placed side by side, a paradox appears. On one hand, we sincerely want to protect our children from suffering. On the other hand, creating a child is the one choice that makes suffering unavoidable for them. This means that the desire to protect a child's well-being and the desire to create a new life are impulses that pull in opposite directions. To create a child is to accept, on their behalf, a guaranteed exposure to harm. To prevent all harm would have meant refraining from that choice altogether. The best thing a parent could do to fully protect their child's well-being is, paradoxically, never having this child in the first place. That is the conclusion this quiz leads to, not because life has no joy or value, but because the desire to prevent harm and the desire to create life cannot be fully reconciled. There's no going back from this realization, but there is a way forward. If you already have a child, this understanding doesn't condemn you, it calls you. It calls you to protect them as fiercely as possible, and to love them unconditionally, especially when adversity arises. Especially when conflicts of values, identity, or lifestyle appear. Because that is when children are most often neglected or rejected, emotionally or physically, and that is when they need you the most. Reflection doesn't undo the past, but it opens the door to compassion, and it can shape how carefully and gently the future is lived. Thank you for taking this quiz seriously. That, too, is an act of care. I wish you and your child only the best. Farewell.